Saturday, Fox News contributor and former assistant U.S. attorney to the Southern District of New York, Andy McCarthy, joined One Nation with Brian Kilmeade to discuss what a potential arrest would mean for Trump. McCarthy stated that the impending prosecution of Trump is, quote, a disgrace, as it is a political move by a progressive prosecutor to benefit the Democratic Party in the long term. McCarthy further spoke about the case itself and why the only two witnesses have problems. Watch.
So right now, we understand that you do not think much of this case. It actually took place in 2007. The payments took place in 2015. Why this? Why now? And Alvin Bragg walked away from this case before. What changed?
Yeah, he walked away from it, Brian, and my old office, the Southern District of New York, the federal prosecutors in Manhattan, also wanted no part of this case, which hinges not only on the testimony of the porn star, Stormy Daniels, who, look, I think it's credible for her to claim that this happened way back when, but at the same time, she's on record a couple of times saying it didn't happen. The other crucial witness here is Michael Cohen, and I think probably the feds walked away from him because of his deep credibility problems.
Obviously,
so
yeah.
You're not starting out in a great place with those witnesses.
McCarthy would then go on to discuss what would happen during the actual arrest process.
Underneath the surface, we should be mindful that the United States Secret Service, which is responsible for Trump's security, and the NYPD, the New York City Police, who are responsible for law and order in the city, they work together a lot. They coordinate well. They work well together. And I would expect what will happen here is that the interests of both sides will be served, so that the Secret Service will maintain Trump's security. The NYPD and the DA's office will get him through the processing. I don't think he'll be arrested in the traditional sense of they'll place handcuffs on him and perp walk him. Given all the security and logistical nightmare that's involved with this kind of a proceeding with a former president, what I'd expect is they'll figure out a place for him to surrender in a secure area where the Secret Service will stay with him. The New York City Police will process him, meaning they will do fingerprints and photographs, which is what they do for every person who comes into the system. I doubt we'll see the mugshot anytime soon. We shouldn't see it because it's supposed to be non-public. I know these things leak from time to time, but I wouldn't hold my breath for this one for a while. And then they'll have to get him to court, where he'll be making an initial appearance before a judge, and I'm sure they'll secure that before this all starts as well.
Kilmeade later asked McCarthy what this arrest would mean in regard to the pending cases involving Mar-a-Lago and the election interference case. Take a look.
Tell me, what about the other cases are more serious, and you think they're going to come quick from Mar-a-Lago to what's happening in Georgia, right?
Yeah, Brian, I think that once the first prosecutor crosses the Rubicon here, we're going to hear from the other ones. We heard that the Atlanta case, which is about the 2020 election, was fairly imminent, that they were, we heard that grand jury woman a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
I think that case is coming. And there's also the special counsel has been very active the last few weeks in terms of the grand jury. That's the Justice Department. So that's the January 6th stuff and the Mar-a-Lago stuff.
Wow.
I think there's a lot more coming.
Then on Sunday, Trump's attorney Joe Tacopino warned Democrats that attempts to weaponize the justice system could come full circle. He told Mark Levin on Life, Liberty, and Levin last night, "What is good for the goose is good for the gander. Eventually," he says, "it's going to come full circle." Take a look.
I suspect that the DA's office has non-disclosure agreements. People can't discuss certain things. U.S. Attorney's Office. These are rather common business practices, are they not?
They sure are. And especially in my world, as a lawyer, when you're resolving cases, look, I've represented many, many beyond wealthy individuals who have resolved cases for what they call nuisance value to make an embarrassing problem go away. And the problem isn't always a real problem. It's the threat of an allegation. That's enough. I mean, I've known some individuals who settled cases from someone they don't even know who the heck that person was because they were going to make a claim against them. And they had met them at an event, a gala or something, and they took a picture with them. And, sure enough, that turns into an allegation. And somebody's saying, well, I'll pay $100,000 to quash that now. It's ridiculous. I shouldn't have to. I'm outraged. But on the other hand, you're going to spend more than that in legal fees. You're going to have the public embarrassment, the family embarrassment. Something that's not true. And in this day and age now, especially anything with Donald Trump, because he's done such a great job for people in this country, and because of that, so many people on the other side of that equation, on the far left, hate him for it, and don't want him back in office. They're using this ridiculous allegation as a weapon, and there's no crime. He didn't even do anything wrong, let alone commit a crime. That's the part that really is baffling to me, Mark. I don't see how they get around this on a legal basis or on a factual basis. But what they're booking on, I'll be honest with you, they're booking on and hoping a New York jury would never acquit Donald Trump. That's what they're counting on. And that is really scary, and also really something that a prosecutor should never do. If they believe there was a crime, if they believe there's real justice behind an allegation, then pursue it. But this is not one of those. This is something so ridiculous that no prosecutor would touch. Look, the United States Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, the federal prosecutors in this city, which is really the holy grail of prosecutors' office in this country, looked at this when they prosecuted Michael Cohen, and they didn't pursue Donald Trump. They could have. They didn't pursue him on this because they know this is not a case. It would never survive a legal challenge. But I have more confidence in the New York jury than perhaps others do. And I think that they're, look, whether they're whatever side of the political spectrum they fall on, I think they're people who want to look themselves in the mirror when they go home at night and not do something that is weaponizing our justice system. Because you know what? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And eventually it's going to come full circle.
A source recently told Fox News Digital that New York authorities have no specific timing in mind for a potential indictment and arraignment of former President Trump, but many are now concerned that arresting Trump is likely to be dangerous. In fact, several law enforcement groups were scheduled to meet earlier today at the NYPD headquarters in Manhattan to discuss the logistics of a potential indictment against Trump. The Secret Service was also expected to suggest the possibility of a virtual arraignment, removing the need for Trump to even physically be arrested and moved. In the event of an indictment, a physical arrest would be the responsibility of the Secret Service. Law enforcement is worried about, quote, a tremendous amount of danger and hysteria after Trump recently encouraged his supporters to, quote, take back our country. Fellow Republicans such as House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said during a press conference that he doesn't believe people should protest this stuff. Watch.
I don't think people should protest this, no. And I think President Trump, if you talk to him, he doesn't believe that either. I mean, I think the thing that you may misinterpret when President Trump talks, when someone says that they can protest, he would probably be referring to my tweet, educate people about what's going on. He's not talking in a harmful way, and nobody should.
Meanwhile, the House Judiciary Committee is gearing up to go after the Manhattan DA. Reportedly, committee chairman Republican Jim Jordan is preparing to demand testimony from members of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office as an indictment of former President Donald Trump is expected. Politico reported this morning that Jordan and other senior Republican leaders are planning to demand testimony from the office as the office appears poised to indict Trump as soon as Tuesday. According to Politico, Jordan said, quote, Bragg is a George Soros-backed crazy left-wing prosecutor who is presiding in Manhattan where crime is on the rise and is doing this as a purely political sham. Speaker McCarthy wrote in a tweet on Sunday, quote, Elvin Bragg is abusing his office to target President Trump while he's reducing a majority of felonies, including violent crimes, to misdemeanors. He has different rules for political opponents. Republicans stopped the radical D.C. crime law, and we will investigate any use of federal funds that are used to facilitate the perversion of justice by Soros-backed DAs across the country. Well, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis finally broke his radio silence on the rumored arrest of Trump today. This would come on the heels, of course, of Trump advisor Jason Miller previously calling him out for remaining mum. DeSantis said Florida would not take part in any of what he described as a manufactured circus by some Soros DA trying to do a political spectacle and virtue signal his base. Watch.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Megan from the Florida Standard. We wanted to know what your thoughts are on the rumored Trump indictment and if you have any role in it. If charges are brought on him, would you have any role in extradition to New York?
So I've seen rumors swirl. I have not seen any facts yet, and so I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know this: the Manhattan District Attorney is a Soros-funded prosecutor, and so he, like other Soros-funded prosecutors, they weaponize their office to impose a political agenda on society at the expense of the rule of law and public safety. He has downgraded over 50% of the felonies to misdemeanors. He says he doesn't want to even have jail time for the vast majority of crimes. And what we've seen in Manhattan is we've seen the crime rate go up, and we've seen citizens become less safe. And so you're talking about this situation with, and look, I don't know what goes into paying hush money to a porn star to secure silence over some type of alleged affair. I can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is that if you have a prosecutor who is ignoring crimes happening every single day in his jurisdiction, and he chooses to go back many years ago to try to use something about porn star hush money payments, that's an example of pursuing a political agenda and weaponizing the office. And I think that that's fundamentally wrong. And in terms of we are not involved in this, won't be involved in this. I have no interest in getting involved in some type of manufactured circus by some Soros DA, okay? He's trying to do a political spectacle. He's trying to virtue signal for his base. I've got real issues I got to deal with here in the state of Florida. We're obviously shutting down CBDC, which is important. We've got so many things pending in front of the legislature. I've got to spend my time on issues that actually matter to people. I can't spend my time worrying about things of that nature. So we're not going to be involved in it in any way. I'm fighting for Floridians, and I'm fighting back against Biden.
Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that this is a diversion tactic to turn America's eyes toward Trump and, of course, away from the disgusting Biden family receiving money from China. As a matter of fact, Republican Representative James Comer said he believes that there are actually 11 more deals between China and the Biden family, following a report from the House Oversight Committee that an associate of Hunter Biden linked to a Chinese company paid family members over $1 million. He added they are unsure with the 11 other deals involved, but believe bank records will show President Joe Biden and his family members received, quote, millions and millions of dollars from our adversaries. Now, the first deal refers to a report released by House Oversight showing Haley Biden, the widow of Beau Biden, with whom Hunter Biden had a romantic relationship, received $35,000 from accounts tied to Hunter Biden's associate, Rob Walker. Why would she get any money? Including $25,000 that appears to have originated from a Chinese company. The report cited bank records from Walker that were subpoenaed by the committee earlier this year. Comer would go on to tell Fox News' Maria Bartiromo that, quote, we don't know what the Bidens did in return for this money, but, he said, we're going to follow the money. Maria would later speak with the former director of national intelligence, John Ratcliffe, asking him the obvious. Watch.
This is so incredibly disturbing. Do you think there's a coincidence that as soon as James Comer comes out and exposes those bank records, that suddenly Trump is going to be indicted? I mean, you're just talking about this soft approach from Joe Biden to China. We're constantly asking, why? Why not protect America? Is it a coincidence now that Trump is going to get indicted on Tuesday after these bank records were revealed last week?
Well, I don't really believe much in coincidences. And so I do think that I think that it's important what Congressman Comer is doing, and it's a way for the American people to really find out what's happening. I hope that effort continues. I think that it will.
So what do you think? You think this is just another, what I call like a political Tai Chi, where they're Tai Chiing it back to you, like I like to call it, don't look over there, look over here. Situation. It's just, I mean, I knew it. I knew when they uncovered that shit with China and the Bidens with the money. I knew there was going to be something, right? So, I actually was thinking, oh my God, what are they going to do? Have another mass shooting? I mean, anything that they can do to divert your attention from one of the most disgusting families in the United States, or really anywhere aside from the Clintons, they're going to do it. So this thing with Trump is no surprise. I mean, the bullshit that Obama has pulled, and obviously the Bidens. I mean, it's disgusting. It is so disgusting. And literally, I knew this was coming. It's just a diversion tactic. And of course, because he's running for office against Biden, they're going to pull out all the stops to stop him from becoming president again. Or actually to even have him run. I mean, he is currently running, but anything to put the brakes on that. I obviously think that, along with other people, that it's going to have the reverse outcome for them. I think actually, if anything, it's going to encourage more more backing for Trump than anything, because when you piss people off, they tend to go all out. But yeah, what do you guys think? Go ahead and comment below. Just another diversion tactic? I think so.